Imagine an entrepreneur waking up at 5 in the morning, drinking cold coffee because there's no time to heat it up, checking emails while driving to the most important meeting of the year. Everything looks perfect. Discipline, focus, determination. 3 months later, he's broke, not of money, but of purpose. What nobody told you is that some of the beliefs every motivational entrepreneur repeats are exactly the poison that kills startups from the inside out. Psychologists who study entrepreneurship have discovered something counterintuitive. It's not a lack of motivation that destroys businesses. It's an excess of the wrong motivation, beliefs that seem noble but function as mental traps disguised as wisdom. Let's call this the toxic motivation paradox. The more an entrepreneur believes in certain success cliches, the higher the probability of failure. In the next few minutes, I'm going to dismantle 10 of these beliefs that psychologists identify as a recurring pattern in entrepreneurs who go under. I'm not going to motivate you, I'm going to detox you. The first belief is, success requires total sacrifice. This sounds noble, it seems courageous, and that's exactly why it kills. The psychology of entrepreneurship calls this the necessary cost illusion. The mechanism works like this. Your brain creates a false equation. The more you suffer, the more you deserve success. It's as if the universe had a balance sheet of pain and reward. The more you give up, the more credits you accumulate. That's not true. What psychologists observe is that entrepreneurs who sacrifice mental health, relationships, and basic well-being don't get anywhere. They end up in a therapist's office. What actually works is strategic sacrifice, giving up what doesn't matter to protect what does. An entrepreneur sleeping 4 hours a night isn't being courageous. He's sabotaging his own judgment. Your brain needs sleep to make decisions. Without it, you don't have discipline. You just have fatigue disguised as determination. The second belief is, you have to love what you do. This one is deceptive because it's partially true. Yes, you need to care about your business. But psychology reveals a problem. When you confuse passion with necessity, you get stuck. The belief that you need to love every second of your work creates an unrealistic expectation. No business is made of magical moments. 90% is administrative, repetitive, boring. When an entrepreneur panics because they're not loving today's task, they interpret it as a sign that they chose wrong. So they change direction. Again and again. Psychologists call this chasing passion syndrome. What works is different. You need to respect your business, understand your purpose, but be prepared to do things you don't love. Nobody loves cash flow spreadsheets, but successful entrepreneurs do them anyway. The third belief is, failure is learning. Here's the twist. That statement is true, but the way most people interpret it is destructive. The toxic belief is that every failure is equally valuable. It's not. A failure that teaches you something new is learning. A failure that leads you to spend money you didn't have is ruin. Psychology calls this retrospective learning bias. After you fail, your brain automatically looks for lessons. It finds them. You think, great, I learned something. But learning from a failure that shouldn't have happened doesn't undo the failure. An entrepreneur who crashes their startup because they needed to learn about cash management in practice isn't courageous. They're irresponsible. What works is fail intelligently. Test small hypotheses. Validate assumptions before committing resources. Not every failure is valuable. Some are just expensive. The fourth belief is, your business is your identity. This is one of the most dangerous because it's nearly invisible. The belief works like this. You build a business, then build an identity around it. You're no longer a person who has a business. You are the business. Psychologists call this identity fusion. The problem? When the business faces difficulties, you feel as if you are the one failing. When someone criticizes the company, you feel as if they're criticizing you. When you need to pivot or even shut down, you feel as if you're disappearing. This is paralyzing. Rational decisions become personal. Entrepreneurs who commit business suicide, keeping businesses that should die, often do so because the death of the business means the death of the identity. What works is maintaining a healthy separation. Your business is something you created, and that can change. It's not who you are. You are the person who has the capacity to create, learn, and iterate. The business is just a temporary vehicle. The fifth belief is, you need to believe you're going to win. Here's the problem. Believing you're going to win is not the same as being prepared to win. Psychology calls this motivational magical thinking. The belief is that if you visualize success with enough force, the universe will cooperate. It won't. What psychologists observe is that successful entrepreneurs don't have an unshakable belief. They have calibrated confidence. They trust their system, their execution, their ability to adapt. But they also have plans B, C, and D. They don't believe they're going to win. They work to win. The difference is everything. An entrepreneur who blindly believes they'll win tends to ignore warning signs. They don't invest in learning because they already know what works. They don't change strategy because they just need to believe more. That's not faith. That's denial. What works is confidence in your ability to solve problems, not blind confidence in a specific outcome. The sixth belief is you have to always be on. This is the hyperconnectivity belief. The entrepreneur who is always available, always responding, always present. Psychology has revealed this to be the continuous productivity illusion. Your brain doesn't work that way. Creativity, decision-making, and innovation require rest. When you're always on, you're not always productive. You're always tired. Your judgment deteriorates. Your decisions get worse. You make costly mistakes. Entrepreneurs who never disconnect tend to make their worst decisions precisely when they feel most in control. What works is strategically disconnecting. Having downtime isn't a luxury. It's maintenance. It's when your brain processes information, makes creative connections, and recovers. A rested entrepreneur makes better decisions than one who is connected 24/7. The seventh belief is you can't trust anyone. This is the isolation belief. The narrative is that entrepreneurs are solitary, that they need to carry the weight alone, that trusting someone is weakness. Psychologists call this the self-sufficiency illusion. Here's the truth. The entrepreneurs who most often fail are those who try to do everything alone. They don't delegate. They don't ask for help. They don't build teams. They don't have mentors. And when they reach their breaking point, they have no support network. What works is the opposite. Trusting strategically. Choosing the right people. Building a team. Having mentors. Having friends. This doesn't weaken you. It multiplies you. An entrepreneur who builds a strong network can scale. One who tries to do everything alone can only exhaust himself. The eighth belief is more hours feeds more results. This is false math disguised as work ethic. The belief is that if you work more hours, you'll get more results. Psychologists observe that this is true up to a point, then it reverses. Once you pass that point, more hours generate less output. Your productivity per hour drops. Your mistakes increase. Your creativity disappears. It's as if you're pushing a ball uphill more and more slowly. Entrepreneurs who work 100 hours a week aren't being heroes. They're being inefficient. What works is optimizing results per hour. Work less, but work better. Be focused. Eliminate distractions. Protect your peak hours. An entrepreneur who works 20 focused hours achieves more than one who works 100 scattered hours. The ninth belief is you have to know everything before you start. This is the knowledge paralysis belief. The entrepreneur who studies, researches, takes courses, consumes content, and never starts. Psychology calls this the complete preparation illusion. You will never be completely prepared. You will never know everything. The more you study, the more you realize how much you don't know. So you postpone, and postpone, and postpone. Successful entrepreneurs don't wait to know everything. They start with 60% of the knowledge and learn the rest along the way. What works is start with enough knowledge, then learn while you execute. This is faster, cheaper, and more effective than studying forever. The 10th belief is success is linear. This is perhaps the most destructive because it creates false expectations. The narrative is that if you do A, B, and C, you'll succeed. That there's a formula, that success is predictable and linear. Psychologists call this the linearity illusion. Success is not linear, it's chaotic. There are advances and setbacks. There are periods of explosive growth and periods of stagnation. There is luck. There is timing. Entrepreneurs who believe success is linear panic when they face a setback. They interpret it as failure. They quit. What works is expect non-linearity. Be prepared for change. Have resilience. Know that a setback doesn't mean you failed. It means you're on the path. Now I'm going to show you how these 10 beliefs play out in practice through two contrasting stories. Case A, the overmotivated entrepreneur. There's a guy named Felipe who read every entrepreneurship book, watched every video, believes in each of these 10 beliefs. He woke up at 5 in the morning, slept 4 hours a night because success requires sacrifice. He loved his business obsessively, or at least believed he did. When he made mistakes, he interpreted them as valuable learning. His identity was completely fused with the company. He blindly believed he was going to win. He was always connected. He didn't trust anyone enough to delegate. He worked 100 hours a week. He studied for 2 years before starting because he wanted to know everything. And when he faced the first major setback, he panicked because he expected a linear trajectory. 18 months later, his company closed. He was broke, financially and psychologically. Case B, the calibrated entrepreneur. There's another guy named Marcus. He also wants success, but his approach is different. He works hard, but sleeps 8 hours because he knows his brain needs it. He respects his business, but doesn't love it obsessively. He knows some days will be boring. When he fails, he asks, was this failure avoidable? What do I learn from it? If it was avoidable, he doesn't repeat it. If it was inevitable, he moves on. His identity is separate from the business. He is a person who created a business, not the business itself. He has confidence in his ability to solve problems, not blind belief in an outcome. He disconnects from work. He built a team he trusts. He works 30 focused hours a week. He started with 60% of the knowledge. And when he faced setbacks, he didn't panic. He expected non-linearity. 5 years later, his business grew 300%. He's doing well, psychologically and financially. The difference wasn't intelligence. It wasn't luck. It was mental calibration. So, how do you detox from these beliefs? Here is a practical protocol. First step. Identify which of these 10 beliefs you most strongly hold. Be honest. Which one resonates with you? Which one do you repeat to yourself? Which one do you feel defines you? Choose one. Second step, question the belief. Don't reject it. Question it. Ask, is this belief always true? Are there exceptions? What has it cost me to believe this? Write the answer down. Don't think. Write. Third step, identify the cost. Each of these beliefs has a cost. Total sacrifice costs health. Obsessive passion costs flexibility. Blind belief costs adaptability. What is the cost of your belief? Fourth step, create an alternative, calibrated belief. Don't completely reject the old belief. Calibrate it. If you believed in total sacrifice, calibrate to strategic sacrifice. If you believed in trust no one, calibrate to trust strategically. Write down the new belief. Fifth step, test the new belief for 30 days. Not forever, 30 days. Observe what changes, how your energy changes, how your decisions change, how your results change. This protocol works because it doesn't ask you to reject motivation. It asks you to optimize motivation, to trade toxic motivation for calibrated motivation. Visualize your life a year from now. You woke up, you slept well, you work on your business, but you're not obsessed. You respect what you created, but your identity is bigger than the business. You trust your team, you have time for family, friends, and your health. When you face a problem, you don't panic. You solve it. When you face a setback, you don't quit. You adapt. You are building something real, something sustainable, something that doesn't destroy you in the process. Remember the beginning? That entrepreneur drinking cold coffee, driving to the most important meeting of the year. He was motivated, but he was broken. The question isn't, do you want to be motivated? The question is, do you want to be broken in a motivated way or whole in a calibrated way? The 10 beliefs that psychologists identify in entrepreneurs who fail aren't bad. They're just uncalibrated. Your job is to calibrate them, not reject them, transform them. Start today. Choose one. Question it. Calibrate it. Test it. Your future self will thank you.